The London Derby, Arsenal versus Chelsea. Man, what did we even watch yesterday? Manchester United beat Crystal Palace and moved closer to the Premier League top four. United are creeping back. Slowly, but they're coming. Sergio Ramos is coming back too. Spanish media say he might join Real Madrid for 6 months after becoming a free agent. Another comeback storyline. Classic Ramos. Barcelona might lose their top star. Newcastle are sniffing around. And the money they're throwing is kinda crazy. Inter Miami win the Eastern Conference. Liverpool take down West Ham. And Alexander Isak finally gets his debut goal. We're breaking all of this down today. Friends, this is your daily football fix, the hottest stories of the hour. If you want this show to keep rolling, just drop a like and show some love. No begging, just respect for the grind. If you're eating, enjoy your meal. And enjoy the watch. In the previous round, Manchester United lost in a pretty entertaining match. It was a home game against Everton, who were left with 10 men early in the first half. The Red Devils had practically the entire match to finish off a wounded opponent. Instead, they conceded an early goal and couldn't break down Everton's defense in the remaining time. As a result, Everton became the first team to beat United with a man down at Old Trafford. Of course, that was a big blow to United's ambitions just as they were starting to regain form. Another wave of criticism crashed down on the club. Once again, fan Frank Elite from the United stand lost hope of getting his hair cut anytime soon. And already in the very next round, Ruben Amorim's team had to play away against Crystal Palace. Here's an important stat. United had only one away win, while Palace hadn't lost a single home game in the Premier League. Statistically, Palace were supposed to win, and in the first half, the Eagles rolled over United. There was only one team on the pitch. The players in white kits did nothing but defend against constant attacks. Yet in the first 45 minutes, Crystal Palace scored only once. Jean-Philippe Mateta did it from the penalty spot. The Frenchman even had to take it twice. First he scored, but the referee spotted a double touch. After the scandal involving Julian Alvarez, the rules were rewritten. Now, after an accidental second touch, the player simply retakes the set piece. On the second attempt, Mateta beat Alamansa, the goalkeeper, without breaking any rules. Before the break, Palace could have increased their lead at least twice. They created chances often, and they were very dangerous. But the teams went to the dressing rooms at 1-0. Then one of football's fundamental rules kicked in. If you don't score, they'll score against you. Joshua Zirkzee suddenly remembered he's a center forward and that his main job is to put the ball in the net, something he'd been struggling with. His last Premier League goal had come exactly a year ago on December 1st, 2024, against Everton. The goal against Palace was a beauty, a powerful shot from a tight angle that pierced Henderson. A few minutes later, United were already in front. Bruno and Mount played a set piece short. Mount struck hard at the near post, and Henderson was again caught daydreaming. The score became 1-2, and Palace found themselves in a very uncomfortable position. Oliver Glasner's team were forced to go into a positional attack, something they don't enjoy. The match ended in a win for the Red Devils, and Amorim's side climbed right up to the European spots. In the next 2 rounds, United have relatively easy opponents from the bottom half of the table. West Ham United and Wolverhampton. There's a real chance to break into the top 4. And considering United don't play in Europe and have already been knocked out of the FA Cup, they've got a huge advantage over other contenders for the Champions League places. Maybe they'll even manage to use it. One way or another, I wish the Red Devils all the best. Recently, information appeared that Sergio Ramos is not going to extend his contract with his current club in Saudi Arabia. The Spaniard wants to return to Europe to get back into Luis de la Fuente's plans and have a chance to go to the World Cup. And here's where it gets interesting. It's hard to imagine a top club deciding to sign a 40-year-old center-back who hasn't been playing at the very highest level for quite some time. Italian media hinted that Milan could be interested in Ramos. The Rossoneri are not afraid of signing older players, and they genuinely lack center-backs for a back 3 system. But soon an even louder rumor appeared. Sources say Ramos could sensationally return to Real Madrid. If we set emotions aside, there is some logic here. Real have serious problems in defense, Eder Militao is out, and injuries frequently knock out Dean Huyson, David Alaba, and Antonio Rudiger. It's similar to last season when holding midfielder Tchouaméni often had to play center back. Another defender is needed at least for squad depth, and Ramos fits the profile. He almost never gets injured and has missed just 3 games in the last 3 years. But there's one big obstacle: Florentino Perez. As far as I remember, he personally blocked Ramos's return last season when the defender was a free agent. The Real president has long followed the principle of not signing aging players. This policy has worked for years, and it doesn't feel like he's suddenly going to abandon it. Nevertheless, Xabi Alonso really needs a center back on the cheap, someone to back up the starters without requiring huge financial outlay. Ramos fits those requirements: experienced, available, and knows the club better than any other candidate. Still, the probability of the move remains low because of Perez's stance. Although in football, anything can happen, especially when your defense is full of holes. By the way, for those who didn't know, Sergio Ramos is married to 47-year-old journalist and model Pilar Rubio. Barcelona's financial problems have been well known for a long time. Because of them, the Catalans can't properly strengthen the squad. Just look at the last transfer window. Barca managed only 2 paid signings. 25 million went on Joao Garcia, and a smaller fee was spent on Ronnie Bargaggi. Marcus Rashford arrived on a free loan, with Barca only covering part of his wages, so his example isn't really relevant, and that was it for their transfer campaign. While other Spanish giants were spending hundreds of millions, Barcelona barely scraped together 30 million for a couple of deals. Things might improve after the return to Camp Nou, but Spanish outlets stress that the stadium won't be a magic cure in the short term. It will take years before Barca starts seeing real profit from it. In these circumstances, the Blaugrana may be forced into unpleasant measures to stabilize the situation and fund new signings. The same Spanish media report that the club might agree to sell one of its leaders, and Rafinha is the most likely candidate. There are 2 reasons for this. First, the Brazilian winger is in fantastic form, so Barca could cash in big. Second, he'll soon be 30. Next summer is basically the last chance to sell him for top money, and there's already a buyer. According to reports, Newcastle United want to sign Rafinha. Their board sees him as the missing piece to help them become a consistent top English club. The Magpies understand his value and are ready to make a generous offer. Thanks to Rafinha's transfer, Barcelona could receive up to 150 million euros, a colossal sum for them right now. That kind of money inevitably makes you think about sacrificing your star. With those funds, John Laporta could pursue his dream of signing Julian Alvarez. What else could a Barcelona president want on the eve of elections, if not the transfer of a big-name player? The only question is Rafinha's own motivation. He has never shown any desire to leave Barcelona. Sources note that he wants to see out his contract, which runs for another 2.5 seasons. But we all know how Laporta can pressure players to force them out. Just remember Frankie de Jong and Marc-Andre ter Stegen and the media campaigns that were launched against them. If the Barca president gets caught trying to push Rafinha out, it could seriously backfire on him. Right now, the situation at Barcelona is tangled and difficult. It's hard to predict what measures the Catalans will have to take to regain stability, and Rafinha may well become a victim of the club's depressing financial state. Mohamed Salah this season looks nothing like himself compared to last year. Arne Slot is even benched the Egyptian, something impossible to imagine just 6 months ago. But here we are. Salah has become a burden, and Liverpool sometimes look more interesting without him. Maybe it's time to let him go, but that's a topic for another video. Right now, let's talk about who Liverpool want to sign as his replacement. English media have repeatedly written that the Reds' primary target is Antoine Semenyo from Bournemouth. The Ghanaian winger caught everyone's eye last season when he recorded 20 goal contributions. Naturally, Bournemouth didn't want to lose another leader. Now though, the club's board won't even get a say. On January 1st, a buyout clause in Semenyo's contract becomes active. Any interested club just needs to pay £65 million to sign him. Liverpool are, of course, at the front of the queue. But as often happens lately, Manchester City are rushing in to push the Reds off the podium. According to The Times, Pep Guardiola is interested in Semenyo because he wants someone other than Erling Haaland to score goals. Right now, the Norwegian has more than half of City's goals, and that dependence worries the Catalan coach. Semenyo has already shown he's not only a great creator, but also capable of scoring consistently. Guardiola is therefore considering bringing him in this winter, especially as the price is attractive. He wants to build a killer attacking triangle: Doku, Haaland, Semenyo, one that could break any Premier League defense. We don't yet know what the player himself wants, but it's clear he has outgrown Bournemouth's level. The Cherries are a very good club, and Andoni Iraola is a solid coach, and no one there deserves to see their team broken apart. But everything points to a winter sale of Semenyo. No one can blot the move once the buyout clause is triggered, except the player himself. And Bournemouth's footballers, let's be honest, aren't famous for extreme loyalty to the project. Everyone is trying to catch a bigger wave and move up the ladder. You can't really blame them for that. Have collapsed again. Thomas Frank's team lost at home to Fulham, their third defeat in a row. And if you look at the last 10 games, they've suffered 6 losses. The Danish coach's position is becoming more and more shaky. Rumors are circulating in Spurs offices that his sacking is only a matter of time. The only question is who will lead the team if the board decide to change course. The main candidate is Xavi Hernandez. English outlets say the club's interest in him hasn't gone anywhere. In fact, Tottenham could have appointed him back in the summer. Then chairman Daniel Levy actively kept the talks alive and saw Xavi as the priority option. But in the end, the board chose Frank. Levy has since left the club, but his idea survived. The current hierarchy also considers Xavi the right figure to refresh the project. The Spaniard himself is open to returning to coaching. He's made it clear he's waiting for an offer from a club where he can influence transfer strategy and build a project around his vision. Tottenham are genuinely ready to give a coach that kind of freedom. It's not the first time either. Jose Mourinho controlled many transfers, and Antonio Conte had a big say in recruitment too. So far, there have been no negotiations with Xavi, but it's known the club are ready to initiate contact if results don't improve. The unofficial deadline for Frank is the end of December. Until then, Spurs will evaluate performances and decide on the coach. If the team continues to slide, a call to Xavi will only be a matter of time. He has already proven himself as a crisis manager. In the chaos that reigned around Barcelona in recent years, board changes, shaky finances, a non-competitive squad, Xavi still built a team that won the league and could have won much more if not for constant turmoil upstairs. His biggest strength is developing young players. Tottenham's academy is pretty good. Its most recent notable graduates are Noni Madueke and Troy Parrott, the same Parrott who killed Hungary's chances of reaching the World Cup. Under Xavi, we might see a lot more academy kids in Spurs' starting 11. For that reason alone, it would be fascinating to see him at Tottenham. Ibrahima Konate is having a dreadful season, even though last year he was a real rock at the back. Most Liverpool players are out of form right now, but the Frenchman is still making far more mistakes than his teammates. What's the reason? Opinions differ. Some think Konate has been affected by serious interest from Real Madrid. He started thinking more about where he'll be next year than where he is now, and his level dropped. Others believe Ibrahima is simply mentally fragile, and that the Reds' crisis hit him harder than others. Either way, he is nowhere near last season's form, the one that prompted Real to follow him closely. Journalists Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein reported that Real were horrified by his current mistakes, but they still decided this was probably just a temporary slump and reached out to his entourage to ask about salary demands. Konate's camp asked for €10 million per year, and Real immediately walked away. So Konate at the Bernabeu isn't happening. As Romano stressed, however, Madrid haven't abandoned the idea of signing a center-back. Next summer, they will almost certainly buy one, and Dayot Upamecano is now their main target after they gave up on Konate. And what about Ibrahima? Now he's suddenly ready to generously extend his contract with Liverpool, but we have to understand that he lost an important bargaining chip. Without real interest from Real, he'll have to lower his demands, especially given his current level. Alongside Konate, the future of another star with an expiring contract became clearer. Dusan Vlahovic of Juventus suffered an injury in a match against Cagliari. The Serb had to leave the pitch around the 30th minute with a serious muscle problem. Vlahovic writhed in pain and was close to tears. As he walked off, he said it hurt a lot. Luciano Spalletti commented that the striker pulled a muscle and was in significant pain. He had rested him in the previous game to have him in perfect condition for this one. Now Italian media report that Vlahovic won't be going anywhere in January because of the injury. In the second half of the season, he'll continue playing for the old lady. At the end of the season, the parties will sit down again and decide whether to renew his contract or shake hands and part ways. Inter Miami won the MLS Eastern Conference. In the final, the Herons destroyed New York City FC, smashing them 5-1. The game itself was quite tense though. Up until the middle of the second half, Inter were only leading 2-1. Closer to the end, New York naturally threw everything forward to get back into it, and Miami started catching them on the counter with ease. Tadeo Allende scored a hat-trick. It looks like Celta won't let him go on loan again next season. I'll highlight Inter's fourth goal. Rodrigo de Paul flicked the ball with his heel to Talashi, but everyone was discussing the assist from another Argentine. Lionel Messi delivered the 405th assist of his career. He is now definitively the greatest playmaker in football history, surpassing even Ferenc Puskás. Primarily thanks to their captain, Inter reached the MLS playoff final, where they'll face the best team from the Western Conference, Vancouver Whitecaps. Messi joined the worst team in MLS, and in the end won 3 trophies with them, and took them to the playoff final. Now, he needs to give everything in the decisive game. It won't be easy. Vancouver, led by Thomas Müller, have already crushed the title hopes of LA, featuring Son Heung-min and Hugo Lloris. In the conference final, they dealt with San Diego. Right after moving to MLS, Müller joked that he would chase Messi in America just like he did in Europe, hinting at the long, not-so-pleasant history of Barca versus Bayern for the Catalans. Before the match with San Diego, he said, "Yes, I know about all these conversations among fans. This whole Barcelona saga, 2 big players meeting in one match. Miami are the biggest brand in the East. Whitecaps will be the biggest brand in the West. I'm joking, but I'm working on it. My story is destined to end in a final against Miami. It's not my fault. I was forced to say this." Müller considers Messi the greatest player in history, but for him the priority is always the team, not individuals. That's why Vancouver can very well take the trophy from the Herons, especially given how confidently the Canadians reached the playoff final. Onslaught hasn't been sacked, at least not yet. Liverpool finally stopped their losing streak and took 3 points against West Ham United. It's not exactly a huge achievement because West Ham showed absolutely nothing, as if they weren't trying at all. They didn't even try to stop Liverpool having the ball. Joe Gomez started for Liverpool at right back and will almost certainly start there again. He had a brilliant game, both in defense and attack, even grabbing an assist. He delivered his peak performance exactly when it was needed most. Alexander Isak finally woke up and scored his first goal. He regularly received the ball in dangerous positions. That's the most important thing. He could, or even should, have scored a brace, but we'll still praise the Swede for that one goal. Isak knows the rules. If you have a shooting chance, shoot. With one calm touch, he rolled the ball into the corner of the Hammers. Net after a throw-in routine. You can see positive changes in his game, and hopefully, it only gets better from here. He also managed to shut up Joe Barton, who said before the match, "A Somali knockoff. That's not the guy we saw at Newcastle. He's blatantly awful, just disgusting. If you fell from space and they told you, we paid €5 million for him, you'd ask why, let alone 150 million. Florian Wirtz didn't record any goals or assists, but I'd still call him the best player on the pitch. He was the most active in attack, constantly finding ways into the box and actually created that very goal for Isak. The fans also voted Wirtz the MVP of the match. That says a lot. If Liverpool improve as a team, his goal contributions will start pouring in. It's clear he's trying hard and really dragging the team forward. It's just that not all of his teammates are at his level yet. Lucas Paqueta of West Ham, it seems, took on another burden, this time his red card. After the referee booked him for dissent, the Brazilian didn't calm down. On the contrary, he started complaining twice as much. His teammates tried to drag him away, but he still got what he wanted. He practically begged the referee to show him a second yellow. Afterwards, he blamed everything on the Brazilian Football Federation. It's ridiculous when your life and career are affected by a 2-year ban without any psychological support from the federation, he said. Maybe this ridiculous behavior is just a reflection of everything he's been through and what he still has to overcome. He added, "I'm sorry if I'm not perfect. Honestly, I haven't seen a more pathetic attempt to dodge responsibility." If I were West Ham, I'd throw this passenger off the train. You can just apologize and promise not to do it again. The hate from West Ham fans would be much weaker. And you know what? I don't even blame them for being angry. Barcelona couldn't do anything against Chelsea, and then, not without difficulty, beat Alaves. After the match, Hansi Flick needed a long time to pull himself together. A video went viral of the German almost in tears, with Rafinha consoling him. This is the same Flick who ruthlessly destroyed Barcelona in the Champions League with an icy calm that became a meme. At Barca, though, he started celebrating goals more passionately and generally became more emotional. But we've never seen him this shattered. According to Helena Condis, Flick had an extremely tough week after the loss in London. He's completely exhausted and feels powerless. The team is playing nothing like last season, and he can't fix it, which keeps him under constant stress. Another reminder of how draining the coaching job is. He looks like a rock of a man, but even Iron Hansi's nerves are giving way. Xavi survived 2 full seasons in Barcelona. Even Flick is already near the breaking point. Sources at Barca deny that he has any psychological issues and attribute his reaction to frustration with the refereeing. Flick was furious with the 4th official. Both his assistants were sent off and will miss the games against Atletico and Betis, and that enraged the coach. On top of that, he was livid about a non-given penalty in the first half. Yamal was brought down in the box, but the referee saw no foul despite clear contact from Alaves defender Salman. Not so long ago, the media were reporting on Flick's positive mood and his belief in Barca's imminent progress. And now we see behavior that suggests the opposite. Even if he was mainly angry at the referees, it's obvious there's also general fatigue and irritation with the job itself. So let's wish Hansi all the best. As we know, nerve cells do not regenerate. Arsenal and Chelsea produced an absolutely awful match. Awful in terms of entertainment. In the first half, there was no real football, just fouls and hacking at legs. Both teams opted for man-marking. The only player Chelsea left with a bit of freedom was Mikel Merino. Otherwise, every player was tied to a specific opponent. As a result, there was dirty battling on every part of the pitch. It was basically rugby. One duel after another, and nothing more. The most frequent passers for both teams were defenders and goalkeepers. Just think about that. At such a ragged tempo with a focus on physical contact, a red card was inevitable. Congratulations to everyone who bet on that. Moises Caicedo managed to get sent off in the first half for a very harsh tackle. Chelsea attacked slightly more in the first half and generally looked better. But after the red card, Arsenal simply had to take 3 points. The Blues were forced into a low block, not the most comfortable format for Enzo Maresca's side, but the pensioners showed they can adapt. They defended so well after the sending off that the second half was actually even. There was no sign of any Arsenal domination. It felt like Caicedo was still on the pitch. Chelsea didn't drop off defensively and launched some excellent counterattacks thanks to Reece James. The teams traded goals and finished level. After the game, James said he was disappointed with the result, which says a lot about Chelsea's performance. They impressed once again against a top opponent, delivering a huge game in brutal conditions. Massive in terms of effort, of course. The match itself was nearly unwatchable. Real Madrid, on the other hand, showed no character. After the win over Olympiacos, it looked like Los Blancos were back on track, but no. They dropped more points in La Liga, failing to beat modest Girona. Zero ideas in attack. I still don't understand what Alonso wanted from his players. Maybe they didn't understand it either. Or they did, and just decided not to do it. Either way, it was a mess. Lots of pointless possession, little movement up front, almost no attempts to do something original or surprise the opponent. Real lost top spot in La Liga, surrendering first place to Barcelona after 3 poor league games in a row. Astrologers are predicting a week full of leaks about a toxic dressing room and stories about Xabi Alonso being on the verge of getting sacked. And honestly, with this kind of football, he really could be fired. There's no progress in league matches. It's the same thing every time. I especially want to talk about the players. I briefly mentioned they didn't show character, didn't give everything, and ignored the coach's instructions. In my opinion, it's painfully obvious the team are deliberately sabotaging Alonso. So obvious that even a club executive far removed from football could watch this game and say, "No, we're not winning anything with this coach." Is it fair? Is it classy? I don't know. But that's the reality of modern football. Players stopped putting the team above their own ambitions and egos a long time ago, even at a club like Real Madrid. And that's just incredibly sad. That's all for today. Thanks for watching and for subscribing to the channel.